10-year-old girl disappears every night, then mom secretly follows her and finds shocking secret. Carmen Jones massaged her temples as the fluorescent lights of St. Mary's Hospital buzzed overhead. 3 hours into her night shift, and already she dealt with 2 cardiac cases and a toddler with a Lego piece stuck firmly up his nose. The clock on the break room wall ticked to 1:17 a.m., and she allowed herself 30 seconds to close her eyes before her pager would inevitably summon her back to the emergency department. Those precious 30 seconds were all she needed to replay the morning's troubling discovery in her mind. Lily's shoes. Muddy. Again. It had been the 3rd time this week she'd found her 10-year-old daughter's sneakers caked with dirt despite having been clean the night before. At first, Carmen had written it off as playground debris. Kids get dirty, after all. But something felt off. Lily had always been meticulous about her belongings, a trait Carmen attributed to growing up in a household where money was tight and replacements weren't easily afforded. "Jones? Room 4 needs you." The head nurse's voice cut through her thoughts, yanking her back to the sterile reality of overnight emergency care. "On it," Carmen replied, pushing herself up from the uncomfortable plastic chair. As she hurried down the corridor, the image of those muddy shoes mingled with other recent oddities: the slightly askew bedsheets, as if hastily remade, the unusual heaviness of Lily's backpack, and most concerning, the faint dark circles forming under her daughter's bright eyes. When you're working nights and sleeping days, who's watching your child? The accusatory question from her ex-husband Richard haunted her, especially in moments like these. He had used her work schedule against her in the custody battle 3 years ago, though the court ultimately sided with Carmen. She was a good mother. She provided. She was there. Wasn't she? The next morning, Carmen kicked off her scrubs and set her alarm for 2 p.m., just enough time to catch 4 hours of sleep before Lily returned from school. She collapsed onto her bed but found herself staring at the ceiling instead of drifting off. Something wasn't adding up with Lily. Carmen's instincts, honed by years of nursing and motherhood, were screaming that she was missing a crucial detail. When the alarm blared, Carmen felt as if she'd barely closed her eyes. She shuffled to the kitchen to start dinner preparations, her movements sluggish from insufficient rest. The apartment they shared was small, a 2-bedroom unit in a building that had seen better days, but it was clean, safe, and theirs. Pictures of Lily decorated the refrigerator door. Lily at 7, grinning with a missing front tooth. Lily at 9, proudly holding her science fair ribbon. Lily now, more serious than a 10-year-old should be, but still with that spark of curiosity in her eyes. The front door opened at precisely 3:45 p.m. "Mom! You're up early." Lily's voice carried a note of surprise as she dropped her backpack by the door with a dull thud. Carmen turned from the cutting board. "Thought I'd make your favorite spaghetti tonight." She studied her daughter carefully, the neat ponytail, the carefully buttoned uniform shirt, the clean shoes. Nothing out of place. "How was school?" "Fine," Lily answered, the universal child response that told parents absolutely nothing. She reached for an apple from the fruit bowl. "Mr. Bennett let me help organize the lost and found today. Did you know somebody lost the whole calculator? The expensive kind." "That's nice of him," Carmen replied, watching as Lily bit into the apple. "Your backpack sounds heavy when you dropped it. Lots of homework." A flicker, so brief Carmen almost missed it, crossed Lily's face. "Just math and a history project. Can I go start it? I want to finish before dinner." "Sure, honey. I'll call you when it's ready." Carmen waited until Lily's bedroom door closed before moving quietly to the backpack. She hesitated. She had always respected her daughter's privacy. But something was wrong, and her daughter's safety came first. She unzipped the bag and peered inside. Textbooks. Notebooks. A pencil case. Everything normal. But the second pocket was unusually full. Carmen opened it to find Lily's lunch container, but it wasn't empty as it should be after a school day. Instead, it was packed with what looked like cafeteria food: 2 wrap sandwiches, an apple, and a small carton of milk. Carmen frowned. Lily had never been a picky eater. Why would she bring home untouched food? She zipped the backpack closed and returned to the kitchen, mind racing. Was Lily being bullied during lunch? Saving food because she was worried about money? The thought twisted Carmen's stomach. She worked hard to ensure Lily never felt the financial strain they sometimes faced. That night, after tucking Lily into bed and reading her a chapter from their current book, Carmen settled on the couch with a cup of tea and her laptop to pay bills. The apartment was quiet except for the occasional creaks of the old building settling and the distant sounds of city traffic. At 11:37 p.m., Carmen's eyes were growing heavy. Just as she was about to close her laptop, a soft thud from Lily's room caught her attention. Carmen froze, listening intently. Another sound, the whisper of a window sliding open. Heart racing, Carmen crept to Lily's door and eased it open just a crack. Through the sliver of space, she watched in disbelief as her daughter, fully dressed in jeans and a hoodie, carefully climbed out of bed. Lily moved with practiced precision, sliding a pillow lengthwise under her covers to create the illusion of a sleeping child. Carmen held her breath as Lily grabbed her backpack, now noticeably lighter, and silently opened her window. With the agility of someone who had done this many times before, the 10-year-old slipped out onto the fire escape. Stunned, Carmen waited until the metallic sounds of Lily's descent faded before rushing to the window. She watched her daughter's small figure emerge from the alley beside their building, look both ways, and then pedal away on her bicycle, a bicycle that should have been locked in the building's storage room. Carmen's mind reeled. Where was her 10-year-old going at nearly midnight? How long had this been happening? And why hadn't she noticed? She grabbed her phone and keys, throwing on a jacket over her pajamas. There was no time to change. Every maternal instinct screamed at her to follow, to protect her child from whatever midnight danger had lured her out. As she hurried down the stairs, Carmen's thoughts raced between worst-case scenarios. Predators. Gangs. Drugs. Each possibility more terrifying than the last. But nothing prepared her for what she would actually discover. For the next 3 nights, Carmen strategically placed an old baby monitor in Lily's room. Each night, the pattern repeated. At precisely 11:30 p.m., Lily would wake, dress, and slip out through the window. Each night, she would return 42 minutes later. Carmen had timed it, looking neither distressed nor afraid, just slightly tired. Carmen needed answers, but her night shift made surveillance impossible. After wrestling with the decision, she approached Nadine, her supervisor at the hospital. Family emergency, Carmen explained, the half-truth bitter on her tongue. I need to swap shifts for a few days. Nadine's eyebrows rose, but she nodded. Take Thursday and Friday. You've covered for enough people that you're owed some flexibility. Thank you, Carmen whispered, relief and apprehension washing over her in equal measure. Thursday couldn't come fast enough. As Carmen tucked Lily into bed that evening, she kissed her daughter's forehead and whispered, I love you, no matter what. Lily looked up at her curiously, but Carmen merely smiled and turned off the light. Then she settled in to wait, her own jacket and shoes ready by the couch, her heart pounding with fear of what she might discover about her daughter's secret midnight journeys. Thursday night arrived with an unusual fog that crept through the city streets, turning familiar landmarks into hazy silhouettes. Carmen sat in the darkness of her living room, checking her watch for the 5th time in as many minutes. 11:27 p.m. If Lily's pattern held, she had just 3 minutes to wait. Her daughter's bedroom remained silent, but Carmen knew better than to be fooled. She'd positioned herself with a clear view of the fire escape through the living room window. There would be no surprises tonight. At exactly 11:30 p.m., Carmen's suspicions were confirmed by the faint metallic creak of the fire escape. She peered through the curtains to see Lily's small figure descending with practiced ease, backpack securely fastened, her movements suggesting this was nothing new. Carmen waited until Lily reached the ground before grabbing her prepared bag containing a flashlight, her phone, and pepper spray. Mother's instinct had compelled her to prepare for any scenario, no matter how unlikely. She quietly slipped out the front door of their apartment, taking the stairs 2 at a time to catch up. The night air hit her face with a cold, damp slap as Carmen emerged onto the street. For a moment, panic seized her chest as she couldn't immediately spot Lily in the fog. Then, the distinctive squeak of bicycle wheels caught her attention. There, a small shadow turning right at the corner. Carmen followed at a distance, grateful for her sensible shoes and the cover of fog. Lily pedaled with purpose through the neighborhood, following a path she clearly knew by heart. The girl occasionally glanced around but never behind her. She wasn't expecting to be followed. "Where are you going, baby?" Carmen thought, her mind still conjuring worst-case scenarios. Drug dealers using children as mules. Online predators who had groomed her daughter into meeting them. A secret club of children engaged in dangerous activities. 15 minutes into the pursuit, Lily's destination began to take shape through the mist. The industrial district. Carmen's anxiety spiked. This area housed abandoned warehouses and was known for its homeless encampments. No place for a child, especially at midnight. Lily slowed her pace, eventually dismounting her bike near a gated alleyway between two derelict buildings. She leaned her bicycle against the fence with practiced care, ensuring it remained hidden from casual observation. Carmen ducked behind a parked van, watching as her daughter approached what appeared to be a converted garage door attached to one of the buildings. Lily looked around cautiously, then knocked 3 distinct taps, paused, then 2 more. A signal. The door opened just enough for Lily to slip inside, a sliver of warm light briefly illuminating her face before disappearing altogether. Carmen waited, counting to 60, her heart pounding so loudly she was certain it could be heard across the street. This wasn't some childish adventure. This was deliberate, secretive, and potentially dangerous. As a mother and a nurse, every protective instinct screamed at her to burst through that door and grab her daughter. But something held her back, the absolute absence of fear in Lily's movements. Whatever waited behind that door, Lily didn't approach it with trepidation. Carmen crept toward the building, searching for any way to see inside. Near the corner, she discovered her opportunity, a gap where the fence met the building, just wide enough to provide a view into a dimly lit window. She pressed her face to the opening, her breath fogging the cold air. What she saw stopped her heart. Inside, illuminated by hanging work lights and candles, were people, adults and children huddled in makeshift living spaces constructed from salvaged materials. Carmen counted at least 3 families, their possessions neatly organized in the limited space. In the center stood Lily, her backpack now open on a folding table. Carmen watched, transfixed, as her 10-year-old daughter methodically unpacked food containers with laminated labels, sandwiches, fruits, milk cartons, and what appeared to be hot soup in a thermos. A small girl, no older than 5, approached Lily with wide eyes and received a sandwich wrapped in wax paper, which she clutched to her chest before running back to a woman Carmen presumed was her mother. One by one, Lily distributed the food to every person present, saving nothing for herself. She spoke to them with the confidence of familiarity, checking on an elderly man's bandaged hand, helping a boy about her age sort through what looked like homework papers, offering a tissue to a woman with a runny nose. These weren't dangerous criminals or predators. They were homeless families, people who had fallen through society's cracks and found themselves here, in this converted garage, trying to survive with dignity. Carmen backed away from the fence, tears blurring her vision. Her emotions collided, overwhelming pride in her daughter's compassion, fear for her safety in this unpredictable environment, guilt that she hadn't known, anger that Lily had kept this secret, and shame that her 10-year-old had recognized a need she herself had overlooked. She leaned against the cold brick wall, unsure whether to confront Lily now or wait until they were home. The decision was made for her when the garage door opened again, and Lily emerged, her backpack now empty, her small shoulders somehow looking unburdened despite the weight of her secret mission. Tonight, Carmen would follow her daughter home. Tomorrow, they would talk about secrets, safety, and the unexpected weight of compassion on a 10-year-old's shoulders. Carmen sat at the kitchen table, hands wrapped around a mug of tea that had long gone cold. The living room clock chimed 1:30 a.m. Lily had been home for nearly 20 minutes, returning through her bedroom window with the same stealth she'd used to leave. Carmen had quietly slipped in through the front door moments before, giving her daughter time to return to bed, pretending she'd never left. Now Carmen waited. She had rehearsed this conversation a dozen different ways on the walk home, trailing her daughter at a safe distance. Should she be stern? Understanding? Should she forbid these midnight missions outright? Could she even bring herself to do that after witnessing such compassion? The gentle creak of Lily's bedroom door broke her contemplation. Her daughter froze in the hallway, clearly surprised to see the kitchen light on and her mother sitting there at this hour. "Mom? Why are you awake?" Lily's voice was a careful neutral, but her eyes darted nervously to the window, perhaps checking if her mother could have seen the fire escape from her position. "I think that's my question, Lily." Carmen kept her voice gentle but firm. "I know where you went tonight. I followed you." The color drained from Lily's face. She gripped the doorframe, her small fingers white with pressure. You saw?" Carmen nodded, pulling out the chair beside her. "Sit down, sweetheart. We need to talk." Lily approached like a condemned prisoner, shoulders hunched, eyes downcast. As she settled into the chair, Carmen noticed tears already forming. "I'm sorry," Lily whispered. "I know I shouldn't sneak out. I know it's dangerous. But they needed help, Mom, and nobody was doing anything. How did this start, Lily? How did you even find these people?" Carmen asked, pushing aside her prepared speech in favor of simply understanding. Lily's story spilled out in bursts of emotion and detail. 2 months ago, during a class field trip to the downtown library, she had spotted a girl her age living in a van parked on a side street. The girl had been reading a book Carmen recognized, the same one currently sitting on Lily's nightstand. "She was reading The Secret Garden, Mom. The same part 1 was on. But she looked so hungry." Lily's voice cracked. "Our class had lunches from the cafeteria, and I had extra. I just gave her mine." That simple act of kindness had been the first thread of what became an intricate web. The girl, Mia, had introduced Lily to her family and the other homeless people sheltering in the converted garage, a space offered by a former mechanic who had lost his business but still owned the building. "Mr. Bennett found me the second time," Lily continued, referring to the school janitor Carmen vaguely recognized from parent-teacher conferences. "I was taking leftovers from the cafeteria trash. He didn't get mad. He said his brother had been homeless before he helped him." Instead of reporting her, Mr. Bennett had become her accomplice. He had access to the cafeteria's surplus food, perfectly good items that would otherwise be thrown away due to regulations. Each day, he would set aside unopened milk cartons, wrap sandwiches, and fruits in a special bin for Lily to collect after school. "He makes sure everything is sealed and safe, Mom. And he helps me label them so nobody with allergies gets sick. He used to be a cook before being a janitor." The operation had evolved over weeks. Mr. Bennett would leave a side door unlocked for Lily to slip in after hours to collect the daily surplus. They had timers and a system, 11 minutes precisely to gather the food, pack it properly, and exit through the gymnasium door that wouldn't trigger alarms. "But Lily," Carmen interrupted, "why didn't you tell me? I would have helped." Lily's eyes dropped to her hands. "You work so hard already, Mom. You're always tired. And..." She hesitated. "And what, sweetheart? And I thought you might make me stop. Adults always say kids can't do things like this. But I can. I'm helping." Carmen felt the words like a physical blow. Her daughter had seen her not as a potential ally but as a potential obstacle, another adult who would shut down her compassion with rules and restrictions. "The families," Carmen began, trying to understand the full scope of the situation. "How many are there?" 5 families now. And Mr. Willis, he's the old man you probably saw. He used to be a teacher before his medication got too expensive." Lily's expression brightened slightly. "They don't just take food. They help each other. Mia's mom was a nurse aide. She helps with cuts and stuff. Mr. Jackson fixes things. He made my bike light work again." Carmen listened, astonished at the underground support network her daughter had not only discovered but become an integral part of. A community operating in the shadows, giving and receiving help with dignity. Am I in trouble? Lily finally asked, her voice small. Are you going to make me stop? Carmen looked at her daughter, really looked at her. Behind the exhaustion in those young eyes was determination and a moral certainty that many adults never achieved. Her 10-year-old had recognized the need and acted while the rest of the world turned away. You're not in trouble for helping people, Carmen said carefully. But we have a serious problem, Lily. What you're doing, what Mr. Bennett is doing, could get both of you in a lot of trouble. The school has rules about food distribution. There are health codes, liability issues. Lily's face crumpled. But they'll be hungry. I know, sweetheart. And I promise we'll figure something out. But no more sneaking out at night alone. That's non-negotiable. It's not safe, no matter how careful you think you're being. The morning after their midnight conversation, Carmen walked Lily to school instead of sending her on the bus. The weight of their shared secret hung between them, creating a new kind of bond, complicated, fragile, but somehow stronger than before. Remember what we talked about, Carmen said as they approached the school gates. No more night trips, and we'll figure out a better way together. After school, we can talk to Mr. Bennett about options. Lily nodded solemnly, adjusting her backpack, noticeably lighter now that Carmen knew its purpose. Okay, Mom. But can we still bring food to them tonight? I promise, Mia. Carmen squeezed her daughter's hand. We'll go together after dinner. Safely. They parted with a hug that lasted longer than usual, Lily disappearing into the stream of uniformed children while Carmen watched, her heart swelling with a complicated pride. That pride turned to anxiety 3 hours later when her phone rang during her delayed sleep time, the school's number flashing on the screen. Ms. Jones? This is Principal Watkins. The woman's clipped tone immediately set Carmen on edge. There's a situation developing that may involve Lily. Could you come in this afternoon? What kind of situation? Carmen asked, fully awake now. I'd prefer to discuss this in person. 3 o'clock, if possible. The call ended with more questions than answers, leaving Carmen to dress quickly and arrive at Elmwood Elementary 90 minutes early. She needed to find Mr. Bennett before this mysterious situation escalated. She found him in a utility closet near the cafeteria, organizing cleaning supplies with methodical precision. His weathered face registered surprise, then immediate concern when he saw her. You're Lily's mom, he said, not a question but a recognition. She told you? Carmen nodded, closing the door behind her. Last night. And now the principal wants to see me about a situation. What's happening, Mr. Bennett? The janitor's shoulders slumped. The inventory audit. It happens every month, but they normally just sign off on the paperwork. This time, Ms. Delaney from the cafeteria flagged discrepancies in the food count. How bad is it? Bad enough. We've been careful, only taking what would be thrown out, but the records still show items leaving the system without being served. He ran a hand through his thinning gray hair. Principal Watkins has been reviewing security footage this morning. Carmen's stomach dropped. They'll see Lily. No. Bennett shook his head firmly. I deleted those sections. I worked cybersecurity before the layoffs. But they'll notice the gaps eventually. And they've already started questioning staff. A noise in the hallway made them both freeze. Bennett quickly handed Carmen a broom, making it appear they were having a casual conversation about cleaning. They have Mr. Bennett on the list, the voice outside said. Apparently he's got master key access and has been working late hours without logging overtime. The district's sending someone tomorrow. The voices passed, but the damage was done. Carmen and Bennett exchanged alarmed looks. You could lose your job, she whispered. It's not just that, Bennett replied. I'm supporting my brother's kids since he's been in rehab. Without this job. He didn't finish the thought. Carmen left the closet with her mind racing, anxiety building as she wandered the halls until her scheduled meeting. When she finally sat across from Principal Watkins, the gravity of the situation became even clearer. We've identified approximately $2,700 worth of food inventory missing over the past 2 months, Watkins explained, sliding a spreadsheet across her desk. The district is taking this very seriously. If it's employee theft, criminal charges could be filed. Surely there's another explanation, Carmen suggested, trying to keep her voice steady. Accounting errors, perhaps? We're exploring all possibilities, Watkins replied, though her tone suggested she'd already formed conclusions. But I've also received reports of your daughter spending unusual amounts of time with Mr. Bennett after school hours. Carmen's maternal defenses flared. Are you implying something inappropriate, Principal Watkins? I'm stating facts, Ms. Jones. Your daughter has been observed in restricted areas of the school. As her mother, I'd expect you to be concerned. The accusatory tone stung, but Carmen recognized the tactic. This woman was fishing for information, hoping Carmen would inadvertently reveal something in her defensive response. Lily admires Mr. Bennett. He's been helping her with a community service project, Carmen said carefully. I'm aware of their interactions. Watkins' eyes narrowed slightly. What kind of project? Before Carmen could formulate a safe answer, a commotion erupted in the hallway. The office door burst open, revealing Lily, breathless, red-faced, and clutching her backpack. Mom! They're gone! She cried, oblivious to the principal's presence. I went to check during recess. The families. Someone told them people were asking questions about the food, and they disappeared. Principal Watkins rose from her chair. What families, Lily? What are you talking about? Carmen reached for her daughter, pulling her close as Lily realized too late what she'd revealed and to whom. The girl's eyes widened in horror as she registered the principal's presence. I mean, Lily stammered, looking desperately at her mother for guidance. In that moment, Carmen understood they had reached a point of no return. The careful network of compassion her daughter had built was unraveling, threatening to take down an innocent man's career and possibly his family's stability with it. Principal Watkins, Carmen said quietly, I think there's something you need to know. But first, we need to find those families before they scatter for good. The Elmwood Elementary multi-purpose room buzzed with tension as parents and staff filed in for what had been hurriedly announced as an emergency PTA and administrative meeting. Folding chairs arranged in neat rows faced a long table where Principal Watkins sat with the district superintendent and 2 school board members. Carmen and Lily sat in the third row, the girl's hands twisting nervously in her lap. In the back corner stood Mr. Bennett, summoned from his evening duties, his weathered face carefully blank but his eyes darting occasionally to Lily with reassuring glances. Thank you all for coming on such short notice, Principal Watkins began, her voice carrying that particular authoritative tone reserved for serious infractions. We've discovered a significant inventory discrepancy in our food services department, and evidence suggests unauthorized removal of school property. Murmurs rippled through the audience as Watkins continued, explaining the audit findings without explicitly mentioning suspects. Yet, her occasional glances toward Mr. Bennett made implied accusations clear. Mr. Bennett, the superintendent called. Would you please join us at the front? The janitor moved slowly through the parting crowd, his shoulders squared despite the weight of scrutiny. Carmen felt Lily tensing beside her, small fingers digging into her arm. Mr. Bennett has worked at Elmwood for 7 years, Watkins explained to the assembly. He holds master access to all facilities and has recently been observed on premises during unauthorized hours. The district's head of security stepped forward with a tablet. We've noted security camera anomalies coinciding with inventory loss dates. Specifically, deleted footage from the cafeteria storage areas. Mr. Bennett stood silent, eyes forward, dignity intact despite the public spectacle of his imminent dismissal. Do you have anything to say regarding these findings, Mr. Bennett? The superintendent asked. The janitor opened his mouth, then closed it, his gaze briefly finding Lily in the crowd. He seemed to be weighing something enormous in that moment, his career, his family's welfare, against the promise to protect a child's compassionate mission. Before he could answer, a small voice cut through the tension. It was me! Every head turned as Lily stood, her slight frame somehow commanding the entire room's attention. Lily, sit down, Carmen whispered, though something in her chest swelled with both terror and pride. But Lily was already stepping into the center aisle. "I took the food. Mr. Bennett just helped me not get caught. But he only helped because it was for a good reason." Principal Watkins's mouth tightened into a thin line. "Young lady, this isn't show and tell. Please return to your seat. We're discussing a serious matter." "I know it's serious," Lily interrupted, her voice gaining strength. "That's why I did it. Because hungry kids are serious. Because families living in cars is serious. Because throwing away good food when people need it is serious." The room fell into stunned silence. Lily took another step forward, addressing not just the administration but every adult present. "There are 5 families who are living in an old garage on Westfield Street. One has 3 kids. The littlest one is only 4, and her mom lost their apartment after getting sick and missing work. They were all hungry, so I brought them food from our cafeteria, food that was going to be thrown away." Carmen rose to stand behind her daughter, placing supportive hands on her shoulders, no longer attempting to silence her but instead lending her strength. "Lily has been taking leftover food that would otherwise be discarded due to health regulations," Carmen explained, picking up where her daughter left off. "Mr. Bennett discovered what she was doing, and instead of reporting her, he helped ensure she was taking only what would be wasted." The superintendent frowned. "That doesn't excuse the security footage tampering or unauthorized access." "No, it doesn't," Carmen agreed. "But it does explain the motivation. This wasn't theft for personal gain. This was a child seeing suffering and trying to help in the only way she could think of." Ms. Reynolds, Lily's science teacher, stood from her seat near the front. "I've been teaching for 22 years, and we constantly tell children to show compassion, to think of others, to make a difference. Then when one actually does it, we're ready to punish her. What message does that send?" Her words seemed to break a dam. A parent stood next, then another teacher, then the cafeteria worker who had originally reported the discrepancies, each speaking in support of Lily's intentions, if not her methods. "These families have scattered now," Carmen continued, seizing the momentum. "They've disappeared because they heard authorities were asking questions. They're terrified of being separated, of children being taken into the system while parents are processed through shelters that often can't accommodate intact families." She took a deep breath, looking directly at the administrators. "I'm a nurse. I see what happens when preventative care is unavailable. Small problems become emergencies. These families are in the same situation. Without community support, their circumstances become crises that cost our system far more in the long run." The district superintendent exchanged glances with the board members, clearly unprepared for the groundswell of support forming around a 10-year-old girl and a janitor who had broken rules to feed the hungry. "Regardless of intentions," Principal Watkins interjected, trying to regain control of the narrative, "school policies exist for reasons. We can't simply allow." "Why not?" Lily's voice, though quiet, somehow cut through. "Why can't we change the rules when they don't make sense? You throw away good food every day because of a rule, but people are hungry because of real life." The simplicity of her challenge hung in the air, the unanswerable logic of a child cutting through bureaucratic justifications. In that charged silence, something shifted in the room. The conversation was no longer about inventory discrepancies or security protocols. It had become something much more fundamental, a community confronting its own priorities. 3 weeks after the tumultuous PTA meeting, the Elmwood Elementary cafeteria bustled with unusual activity for a Thursday afternoon. Long tables had been rearranged into a horseshoe pattern, with stations set up for food packaging, inventory tracking, and distribution planning. A newly painted banner hung over the entrance. "Community Meals Program, Feeding Our Neighbors." Lily moved between stations with clipboard in hand, her previous secretive midnight missions transformed into an officially sanctioned after-school program. 20 student volunteers sorted donations and prepared meal packages while Mr. Bennett, now with the official title of Community Outreach Coordinator, supervised the operation with quiet pride. "We've got 35 meal packages ready for today," Lily reported to her mother, who was organizing a small medical supplies section in the corner. Carmen smiled, adjusting her nurse's badge. She'd come straight from her shift to volunteer during the program's official launch. Excellent. And how's the tracking system working? Mr. Bennett's spreadsheet is genius. Lily beamed. We know exactly what comes in, what goes out, and who needs what. No more missing inventory problems. The transformation had not come easily. The days following Lily's confession had been filled with tense negotiations between school administrators, the district, health department officials, and community advocates who had rallied around Lily's cause. Principal Watkins had initially pushed for disciplinary action, but the tide of public support, fueled by a local news story about a 10-year-old's midnight mercy missions, had made such punitive measures impossible. Instead, the superintendent had proposed a compromise: formalize the food distribution under school supervision, with proper health permits, inventory controls, and adult oversight. Mr. Bennett would be reassigned from night custodial duties to program coordination, with a small stipend to recognize the additional responsibilities. Ms. Jones? A hesitant voice interrupted Carmen's thoughts. She turned to find Principal Watkins approaching, looking somewhat out of place among the bustling volunteers. Principal Watkins, Carmen acknowledged, her tone careful but not cold. They had reached a professional détente in recent weeks, though neither would ever be fond of the other. I wanted to see the program in action before the district review tomorrow, Watkins explained, glancing around at the operation. I must admit, it's more organized than I anticipated. Carmen recognized the statement as the closest thing to praise the administrator could muster. Thank you. The students have really taken ownership. Across the room, Lily was showing a younger child how to properly seal a food container, her patience and authority remarkable for someone so young. Carmen felt that familiar surge of pride watching her daughter. The same girl who had once sneaked out windows was now openly leading others in the light of day. We've received calls from 2 other schools in the district, Watkins continued, almost reluctantly. They're interested in implementing similar programs. Before Carmen could respond, the cafeteria doors swung open. A small group entered, familiar faces that made Lily drop her clipboard and run across the room. Mia, the girl from the abandoned garage, along with her mother, and the elderly man Carmen remembered as Mr. Willis, stood hesitantly at the entrance. You came! Lily exclaimed, hugging Mia fiercely. The girl's mother stepped forward. We heard about the program. We've been staying at the temporary housing unit on Millfield. Mr. Bennett approached with a warm handshake. We've been looking for you. All of you. The families had scattered after hearing about the investigation, afraid of authorities who might separate parents from children or penalize them for unauthorized housing situations. It had taken careful outreach through community partners and absolute assurances of safety to reconnect with most of them. Actually, Mia's mother said, looking uncertainly at the adults. I came to ask if you need volunteers. I was a certified nursing assistant before everything happened. I could help. Carmen exchanged glances with Mr. Bennett, who nodded encouragingly. We'd love the help, she said. And I might know someone at the clinic who's looking for a CNA. Principal Watkins, witnessing the exchange, seemed to experience a rare moment of genuine emotion. She cleared her throat. The district has approved a small stipend for program volunteers who bring professional skills. For record-keeping purposes, of course. It was a small gesture, but Carmen recognized it for what it was, the rigid administrator bending just enough to acknowledge that systems could change, even if slowly. Later that evening, as Carmen and Lily walked home together in the early spring twilight, they passed the now empty garage where everything had begun. The homeless families had been connected to city resources, temporary housing programs, and employment assistance. Some had already found more stable situations. Do you miss it? Carmen asked. The secret missions? Lily considered this thoughtfully. Sometimes. It was exciting, like being a spy for good. But this is better. More people can help now, not just me. You know, most adults would have walked right past those people without seeing them, Carmen said. You not only saw them, you risked everything to help them. Lily shrugged with the beautiful simplicity of childhood. They needed help. That's all. As they approached their apartment building, Carmen checked her watch, 6:30 p.m. We should hurry. You have somewhere to be tonight. Lily grinned. I know. Food delivery at 7. With permission. The words hung in the air between them, a shared joke now rather than a source of tension. Carmen watched as her daughter bounded up the stairs ahead of her, backpack bouncing, still the same determined girl who had once disappeared into the night, but now wrapped in the protective embrace of a community she had helped awaken. That evening, like every evening since the program began, Lily would still disappear for exactly 42 minutes. But now, she would leave with her mother's blessing, a team of supporters, and the knowledge that compassion worked best not in shadows but in the light of shared purpose. And each night upon returning, she would find her mother waiting, not with suspicion or fear, but with a thermos of hot chocolate and eager ears for stories of lives gradually being transformed, one meal at a time.